Hey, gorgeous! Welcome to the Business Mindset Podcast with Holly Wharton, which combines powerful strategies on how to upgrade your business mindset along with practical business tips to grow your business. This podcast features solo shows with Holly and also interviews with inspiring women entrepreneurs from around the world. Thank you so much for joining us today. And now, here's your host, Holly Wharton.
Hello and welcome to the Business Mindset Podcast, episode 171. This is your host, Holly Wharton, and I'm here with today's special guest, Alixe K. Tracey. Alixe has the fun and always amazing mission to serve humanity during its phase of awakening. She's the author behind Earth Angels in Training, Creating Sacred Spaces, Living Goddess Guide, and Living Goddess Journal, as well as the certification guide of Healing Dove Therapy. She's led retreats and workshops from Hawaii to Las Vegas and Paris. Her meditation albums are sold and downloaded throughout the world every single day. Welcome, Alixe.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm very excited to talk to you about our topics for today. So why don't you start out by telling us a little bit about your background and your business journey and how you got to where you are today with what you're doing?
Thank you. Yeah. So that's a beautiful intro. Thank you. Yeah. Even though at this point I've had a lot of really beautiful things come true, like a lot of my business dreams and business goals have manifested, I just feel like it's important to also talk about the parts where we make that choice of creating the business and being of service. Mm-hmm. So for me, I had gotten my certification to become a healer and a therapist, but I was still very much sort of lost about my purpose. I think a lot of people get these certifications and they still don't know, like, what is this business? It hadn't really totally fleshed out. And I was at my lowest point. I had given up my bedroom, like I was renting a studio, and I gave that up and I still had an office. And I had this thought, I'm just going to go sleep in my office. Mm-hmm. And I had no couch, I had no bed. And I ended up spending a couple months just sort of brushing my teeth, at the office sink and showering at the gym the next day and just spending some time at the beach because it was near the beach and just thinking, this is how people, must go homeless, because I had no home. I had all my stuff in my car and I was just sort of at my bottom. I really was at that point, and it took a couple more months for me to turn around that to make that decision to give it all. Like, I'm going to do this 100%. I have to do this and I will do whatever it takes. I want to turn my life around. But I was in that loneliness, in that aloneness. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs go through these journeys of feeling so alone. So I really wanted to share that it hasn't always been easy. And I still, years after that moment, when I was teaching, courses and I was very successful in Las Vegas, I would drive home feeling really alone. So that aloneness didn't leave me right away, but, and we can, I'll tell you more about like the mindsets and how I turned it around. But I wanted to share about how it started was coming to that understanding that I have to be of service and I need to step away from not using my gifts. It was really that I was using my gifts. And I think I don't know if that resonates with you, but if have these innate abilities and we're not using them and we're hiding, it led me to that point. It led me to just sort of overeat and like just not be in healthy relationships and end up sleeping on the floor of an office. And then it's like, I need to be of service. I need to use my gifts. So that's how it started.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have struggles to try to figure out what it is that their gifts are, because often they're so obvious that we don't even see them.
Or we don't know that anyone needs them, you know? We don't know until we start to ask, use me, or can I help you, or can I be of service? And you're right. And there's a lot of beliefs around, for me, it was self-worth, or it was just, how do I even love myself? Really, who am I? And it's a tough journey to go and try to do things on your own. But I used a lot of my intuition, and it's true that beliefs and fears and insecurities will block that knowing of what is my gift. What am I here to do? Yeah,
definitely. So how did things kind of start to turn around for you, and how did you start releasing your gifts out into the world and build a business around that?
Yeah, so you wanted to interview me because I changed my name,
Yeah.
and that's really the catalyst was the name change, because I'm French. I was born in France, and I have a very long, sort of very blue blood French name. It's like a very just proper French name, and it was always super heavy to me. And I was like, I can't see myself go into the spiritual new age, movement as a life coach and have this long French name, and it didn't resonate with me anymore. And so when I hit that bottom, within a couple months, I just really was like, had a one-on-one with God, and I said, you need to really use me and show me what I'm here to do. And I felt this deep knowing that I was going to get a new name. And I remember after I was sleeping on the floor in the office, I went to visit with my sister because I really needed to have, to be with family. Mm-hmm. And she lives in Switzerland in the mountains. And I was up there with her, and I said, I think I'm going to change my name. And you know how, I don't know if you have a sister, but she gave me the look of total disapproval, like that you would get, like, what are you doing? Like, I was totally leaving the realm of her comfort zone. But I could feel this new name coming. And I woke up one day and I heard my spiritual name, which at that, I used it for 7 years, which was Danielle Dove at that time. And so I changed it. I got the URL, which was available, danielledove.com. And as soon as I went back to the States, it just took off. I had people asking me to teach at their studios. I randomly would meet them on the street. Everything just really opened up for me. So for me, I don't know if that's for everybody, but for me, it was changing my name, even if it's tweaking it a little bit. If somebody's listening to your podcast and they're thinking, I feel blocked, sometimes just changing your name gives you that freedom to just go to that next level. And it really opened me up. And then I was so busy as a healer from that point on, it hasn't stopped since.
That is amazing. Yeah. So how did you tell us a little bit about the story about how you received that first name? Because I think a lot of people think about changing their names, but they're like, where do I get a new name from?
Right. That's so interesting, because when I did a goddess retreat in Hawaii, I helped them receive their goddess names. Now, not everybody got their goddess names, because some people are not ready. But so this for me was a spiritual name. And I just want to make the distinction between a spiritual name and then a correct, numerological. No, I'm not saying it right.
Numerological.
Yeah, like something like that. And I'll talk about the way I got my second name. So the way that I got that name was it's very spiritual. And I don't even know if I asked for a new name, but I asked to be of service. I asked for God to use me. And I knew I had these intuitive gifts of healing people's energy. And I didn't feel right. My name just didn't feel right. So I heard it one morning, and it was sort of funny because I had learned how to channel the higher consciousness. I had learned how to connect. So I woke up hearing Danielle. And I go, what? My friend Danielle, she's in trouble. Like, I had a friend named Danielle, and I thought I was supposed to contact her. Mm-hmm. And I get sort of this hit on my head by my guide, which rarely happens. And they're like, it's your new name. And I was like, I love it. I loved it right away. And later that day, I walked through the forest and I was like, what's my last name? And I sort of played around with Danielle, and I got Danielle Dove. And it just fit like a glove. And as soon as I took it on, I just felt so free. And I felt like my life could begin. Mm. Yeah.
I love that. So did you have any fears around changing your name that first time? Because I know, I think a lot of people are afraid of families. What are they going to say? Because your name comes from your parents, and that's kind of like breaking off and doing your own thing. Like, did you have any fears or anything come up around that?
Well, I was already doing angel therapy, so I was already a weirdo, in their mind.
That helps.
I was already out there, but I was having, they could see I was so much happier because they saw me at my lowest. So they saw me also feel better doing my work. Mm-hmm. So they didn't have that much judgment. And within a year, I had published a CD, and I was touring with my meditation CD, and it had a lot of success. If there was any disapproval, it was very short-lived because the success was so fast. But like I said, my sister was the only one that was like, my parents are passed on, like they're no longer here. So I really had my sister to be like, what are you doing? And she actually was hurt at first because she felt like she no longer had a sister, because, I was her little sister, and that's the name. But she kept calling me my French name. That was no big deal. But it just, on Facebook, I have a different name. It does look different. And a lot of friends had to be like, how do I call you now? Like, what's going on? But I think when it's sort of like, I wrote a blog about it, but it's like when you are afraid of lacking the world's approval. Like when you want to go small, that's when you got to push on the pedal and like hit the gas pedal and go, I am going for it. I can't stop. And that's why I wanted to share that story of my lowest point, because I didn't want to go back to feeling lost. And I had such a deep inner knowing that this was going to open things up for me and it was going to free me. And, you know, like there's sort of no going back. And at this point, I want freedom more than I wanted my sister's approval.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's all about priorities, isn't it?
Yeah.
So this all happened back in 2009, didn't it?
Yeah.
Or thereabouts. So recently, you've experienced another name change, haven't you?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that, because I love that you had such just a massive kind of awakening and transformation with Danielle Dove, and then now you've moved on to something else. So tell us about how this happened.
You know, it's funny because when I wrote the blog post about changing my name to Danielle Dove and sort of like the whole story around it, I just recently reread it. And because I wrote it in 2009 or 2010, and it said in there, I know there's another name coming for me. Like I wrote it in there that I felt there was another name coming for me. So it was already there, you know. And so I was Danielle Dove for 7 years. But what ended up happening is I had a child during that time, and I moved back to France. And when I was in France, so I've been in France for 3 years, people here, I grew up with them. And so they don't really know Danielle Dove, you know, because it's like I'm just there. Victoire is my French name. I'm just Vic. I'm Victoire. And so they kept calling me this. And then when I would sign my emails, Danielle Dove, and I would try to make my business work online, which that was a transition for me. That was a challenge because in Las Vegas, I really got to know the community and everybody knew me and everybody would come to my courses and my classes and my retreats and it just all flowed. But when I took everything online, I experienced the same slow blocks and the same like just struggle as I did before I tried, you know, before Danielle Dove. And so it was like wasn't a match. And so for about 9 months, it just would hurt to sign the email to Danielle Dove. You know, everything online, it just started to hurt. And I go, oh, something is stuck. It's been 7 years. And I felt like I was shifting to the things I discovered with the mindsets and the beliefs and the business and how to go free and everything that helped me go free in the past 3 years. I felt like Danielle Dove was the spiritual teacher, and then I needed a new name to sort of take things to a whole other level. To me, I sort of see it like Russian dolls. You know, I have my little French name, and then there's Danielle Dove, and then so they're all inside me. You know, it's like this integrating of energies. And so what I did for this name, Alixe Tracey, is I ended up consulting with somebody, you know, professional. Being like, tell me, why did my French name not work and why is Danielle Dove not working? And they gave me a full name analysis. And this is Kabbalarian Society. They're in Canada. And I had previously hired them to help me pick my son's name. And so what they do is they take your date of birth, your time of birth, and a few other informations. And they look at the stars and the planets and the energy behind each letter of your name. And it was really interesting because they pretty much described everything that was difficult for me with my French name, which was I would always be really lonely. I would never work with people. I would work alone. And which was really what I was, you know, going through with that name. With Danielle Dove, they said, you know, just minimal success. Like you would just feel like you give, and nothing comes back to you and like not enough, right? Which was one of my blocks too. And I'm a block remover magician. Like that's what I do. Like I'm really good at removing blocks in my own life and other people's life. And so when I understood it was based on the name, and it was just so hard for me to keep that Danielle Dove name, even though everything I've done is on that name, website, the books, the CDs, everything, you know, they gave me new names. So they give you a whole list of names that have a high frequency and a higher sort of just better match for where you are right now. And I did calculate the frequency of Danielle Dove, and it was starting to be really low. Like it just wasn't a match for me. And so I picked Alixe Caitlin Tracey. And ever since then, so it's been a few months, like it's just happening again. Like you're my third interview this month. I'm going to speak at a live event next month in the States. My website is done. I have people coming in to work with me on my business. Like that never happened before. All the books I wrote were not really getting published. Now everything's moving. It's like Alixe Tracey, like this name, this energy I'm bringing in. It's like it needed to be. It's the container for what I'm doing next, if that makes sense. You
Totally.
know? So hopefully it's my last name change.
So it's interesting that you say that. So what was it like to rebrand everything twice? Was that overwhelming, or did it just kind of flow? Or because I think that's one thing that a lot of people are afraid of, because, you know, you've got everything branded on your name and then you change, and how are people going to follow you?
Well, you know, I was getting so many people unsubscribing to my email list as Danielle Dove, like in the past 9 months, that I was like, this isn't working. Like, I was getting a lot of signs that I needed to change. And I had struggled with my online presence for that many months that honestly, it was so freeing to start fresh, to be like brand new, everything, you know, to just throw it all away and start fresh. So, but I will say the most recent struggle was like the ebooks, changing, you know, the names on it. That's been a pain, you know, getting somebody to change the names. And some of my audio CDs still say it's Danielle Dove, and all my videos still say that. So I'm just slowly but surely, right now, what I do is when I send an email to my list, I put both names, you know, I say Alixe or Tracey, and then I put Danielle Dove in parentheses, just so, you know. But, you know, with Facebook, I even had it changed immediately, when normally they want to see your ID and they want to like make sure you're, you know, what's going on. And that was sort of my test. It was like, if I get blocked on all these different places that I can't change it, then maybe I need to rethink this. But everywhere I was able to change it immediately. I didn't get any pushback. It's been really easy. And so I think when it's meant to be, and you don't have those subconscious fears, because, you know, I cleared a lot of things around it, it just flows. It becomes effortless when we're totally okay with it inside. The outside is easy. It's been really easy.
I think it's interesting what you said about how you're getting all the unsubscribes and just stuff wasn't working with you with marketing. I think very few people would think that the solution might be to change their name. I think that's just kind of one of the last things so many people would think of. I think people would think, you know, oh, I need to go read another marketing book, or I need to change my strategy, or like solid business stuff. So I think that's so interesting that something, I mean, changing your name is massive, but it's not the common solution that most people would think of.
You are totally right, and I would hope so. But if you were to go on the Kabbalarian Society, I would highly recommend that you still check out your name and see what they say about it, because it might be that you just change one letter and it changes everything. Do you know what I mean? And I'm an energy healer, so for me, names are like words, are super important. You know, I help people change their mindset with, like, you know, because we're made of mostly water. And if you've seen, you know, Dr. Emoto, his research, he took photographs of crystals with words on it. And, you know, you see, you know, certain words are really polluting, like they're really negative, and they make these really ugly crystals. And then really positive words make these beautiful crystals. So for me, I really wanted a really perfect high vibrational name. And you're right, it may not be the name. It might be totally something else. And I still have some areas in my marketing and my business I need to work on, you know, just to get everything moving again. But I was getting, and that's maybe the part I wasn't clear on, but I'm super intuitive. So I know things before they happen. Yeah. And I released every other possible block that there could be creating this, right? I released it. And it was when I would sign my name that thought something was popping in as, this isn't me anymore. It didn't feel authentic. And so now I finally have a name that can be good in French and good in English. So people call me Alixe here and Alixe there. You know, it just feels holistic. You know, if something's not working, I would say try whatever you can to make it work. Because I don't want to go back to being on that beach and thinking, you know, my solution is homelessness, you know, like just feeling like I am not being of service. And I think unless you're an entrepreneur, you're not going to know what I mean. But if you are one, then you know what I mean, because it's so important for us to succeed, because it's like, to me, it's my purpose. It's like, it's my, you know, I'm a mother, I'm a wife. I love my son. I love my husband, but my serving and at my highest level is so important to me. It's like I said, it's more important than having my sister's approval, you know, like than a name, like, and, you know, I don't know. I feel like we're so beyond that. Like our names is just so, you know, it's just a name. Like I don't have attachments, I guess. Like I'm pretty detached. You know?
Yeah, that makes sense. No, and I think you really flowed well with this both times. So did you actually go through the whole process of legally changing your name, or is this kind of your branding?
Yeah, so I will say this. In the United States, you can do something called a DBA, which is doing business as Danielle Dove. So it's super nice because I did not have to change it legally, because I was born in France. I became a naturalized American, so it would be a real pain in the neck. Though I am thinking of doing it in France rebrand now that I'm here, to Alixe, Caitlin, Tracey. They say the consultants that gave me my new name help me choose it. They do say it's best if you change it legally on all levels, Okay. But in the States, I could have a PayPal account. I could have checks written to Daniel Dove or now, Alixe Tracey, just by doing the DBA. So I don't know if in other countries, if you guys have that, but it's fastest way, because for $20 and in 10 minutes you can have a DBA that's pretty much anything. Yeah. That's what I did.
Okay, excellent. I think that's a really good tip. So now, from this Kabbalistic perspective, is it important for you to use your middle initial with your name? So instead of just being Alixe Tracey or Alixe Caitlin Tracey, is Alixe K Tracey the best format for your name?
That's how they present it. Yeah, they say you need to sign it, all those initials, like Alixe K. Tracey, like for it to be a strong name. And I don't know if you can feel it. You knew me as Daniel Dove, but do you feel the difference?
Oh, totally. Daniel Dove is so like soft and pretty and calm and peaceful. And I feel like Alixe K. Tracey is a much stronger name, but yet not as strong as your original name. Like, I feel very different. Yeah, it definitely feels different.
And the Daniel Dove, like, I was such a channel. Like, I channeled so many angel meditations, which was great, but I was not grounded. I couldn't launch a business. Like, it launched itself. Like, my whole angel work I didn't have anything to do with it. It rolled, and now I'm more like I'm a mother now. I need to be grounded. I need to sort of see things through, and you know what I mean? I just need it to be more just here.
So what would be your top tips for someone who wants to change their name and rebrand everything?
Yeah, awesome. So I would say check out the article I wrote when I changed to Daniel Dove, because there's a few tips in there, and I had one of the students I certified to become a healer also went through just a slight name change, and she wrote some tips on that article. So I'm happy to give you the link. I would say then obviously go to the Kabbalarian Society. It's free to check out if the name you have now is a good match. And they'll be honest, it's an automated response, but it's pretty accurate, and they're super helpful. And it's only, I think it was only about $100 to get a new list of new names that's a better name. So it's not like thousands of dollars. I mean, this is a pretty affordable change. And you can always change the name, for you, and then take gradual steps to then, like wear it for a while. I wore Alixe K. Tracey for maybe a couple months before I changed it on Facebook, and before I told everyone. And my sister, of course, was like, "What? You're changing your name again?" I'm like, they'll see, it's like they'll see that it's going to be better for me too. So just trust it. And I'm happy to chat with whoever's thinking of, changing their names and talking about it. And I did have a few clients ask me about it, and because they were thinking of changing their names as well. And I think people who change their names is because they don't feel like their name is their name. I think it's something they've lived with for a long time. And I have friends who say, my name is my name, I'll never change it. And they're dead, like, just love it. And that's what their names are. And then some people are like, this wasn't meant to be my name anyway. So, so they're changing it.
Yeah. And I think that makes sense because, obviously your name is chosen for you. It's not something that you pick when you're born or when you're, at some point in your life. So it makes sense that it's not going to fit for everyone and it's not going to feel right for everyone.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Alixe, do you have any women business mentors? Are there any women entrepreneurs who inspire you that you'd like to share with us?
Well, I am going to have to say Leonie Dawson, since she's the reason we know each other. And I love her. She's so funky and fun and herself. And oh my goodness. She had me ride a lot of donkeys.
Yes, donkeys.
She has this thing about ride the wild donkey. And so I think changing my name is part of that too. It's like, just ride the donkey, go for it. I love Dennis Dalfel Thomas from The Lucky Bitch. She's awesome. I love Marie Forleo, all the major, I will give a shout out to Lindsay Wilson, who definitely is a great business coach too, and Amanda Moxley. I love anybody who just, the community is so rich. I love the women and the support, and just, it's so good to be doing this at this time.
Yeah. So how can our listeners work with you? What are the different options?
Oh, cool. Very cool. So I have 3 different programs, and they go from just awakening someone's intuition. Like if you were wondering how to get answers for your business, like how do I pick, how do I get more intuitive guidance? So I have this Awakening Intuition course, And that's more of a home self-study course. And then I have a much more powerful, like sort of awakening heart course that's all about freeing the blocks in the heart chakra so you become a better manifestor and you heal a lot of whatever triggers you on a daily basis. So if somebody's triggered by fears around money or husband not supporting her, she's feeling alone, like all those stories that pop up when we should be working on the business, all the drama, the awakening heart really goes into it's like doing therapy in 3 months. It's really fast. It's like super efficient therapy. And then I have and I love that course because so many women get amazing manifestations out of this course. It's like really you get your goals pretty much really fast. And then my last course is for women who've been in business and they have a lot of fears around being visible, some of what you do too, and it's because I can hear people's subconscious. It's sort of a weird, freaky thing I do where I hear their thoughts and we go in and we really clear them energetically. And so that is the Blissful Business course, like Awakening CEO, and we awaken sort of your CEO. And actually, even if someone is still working in a job and she's thinking of going on her own, I would do all 3 courses, but I would do the Clearing Your Belief course for sure, because those are such big blocks. Like our subconscious is 98% more powerful than our conscious mind, so I could consciously want to be successful or want to lounge, but if subconsciously there's a part of me that's like saying, no way, a lot of roadblocks. So my mother was somebody who was very strong-willed, but had a lot of self-sabotage, and she ended up she had breast cancer for 7 years and she did pass away because of it. And I see what it does to women to sort of self-sabotage and fight ourselves and self-disapprove. And it's like, don't do it. Like, it doesn't have to be that hard. You can get your subconscious on board and things can be easy. So
Yes, so much so. So, Alixe, where can people find you online so they can check you out and get to know you better?
So it's alixetracey.com. It's really easy. It's my new name. And on Facebook, I love having new friends on Facebook. So just the Facebook, I think it's facebook.com/AlixeKTracey or Alixe Tracey. You'll find me either way. You'll find me on, with that //AlixeKTracey. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It was so much fun to talk about your experience in changing your name, not once, but twice, and how that's totally transformed your business and your life both times. I think it's really, really fascinating stories.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And thank you for listening. And remember to visit hollywharton.com/171 for the show notes on this episode. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to the Business Mindset Podcast with your host, Holly Wharton. You can find more information about today's episode, including links for topics that were discussed at hollywharton.com. And if you enjoyed this episode, please remember to head over to iTunes and leave a quick review of this podcast. It just takes a minute. Thank you.